Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer live weekly chat. We are on episode 61 of Talk of the Crown. My goodness. And what's this message? Oh, it's just telling me it's live. That's okay. Little blue screen, this thing just popped up on my screen. I am dressed like this because, of course, Royal Ascot Week. So I thought I'd better put on my Ascot finery for you guys, complete with top hat and tails. We have tails today too. Look, can you see my tails? A bit like a penguin. So there we go. I am complete with tails today. Now, let's just go to the chat room because I know that you are all there waiting because I've seen lots of conversation going on. James Medford says, is there a tiara under that top hat? No. And I'm afraid, unlike Mike Tindall, there's nothing else under that. I haven't got a smaller hat to make the Queen giggle, which I thought was rather funny. Right, why is this message still in the corner? This blue message will not go away. I need to click it to get rid of it. There we go. That's better. Didn't want a blue blob in the corner while I'm talking to you. PJR says, you look like Abraham Lincoln. My goodness. Is that an accolade? Southern Lady says, hello, you look dapper. Thank you. Little Annie says, you would look fitting well at Ascot. Of course, the royal enclosure, no less. Oh, that's what I expect. Artist Victoria says, wow, what a wonderful outfit. And hi, Mrs. BSN. No, yes, it's a no tiara day, but you get top hat instead. My Magical says, love that you make such an effort for us. I've definitely dressed up this week, my goodness. Lisa Keller says, look at you, I love your outfit. Thank you. A little more dapper than Abe, says Palmer Lee Stevens. Thank you. So just thank you, hello and welcome. I do hope all the notifications have gone out. Let me just see if I can just adjust the camera slightly because I think it might be a tad too high. Is that better? Am I a little bit more in? There you go. You can see a little bit more of my outfit. A little bit more of the jacket that way. There we go. That's better. Let's have a look. Maria, who I think is coming in with a question. Hang on. Says all of these have their... Oh, hang on. Have I missed a whole conversation? That was from the top. If you've posted a really good question and I've missed it, I've gone all the way back down to the bottom, please type it again. Veronique says, I love grey. I like grey too. I didn't have a rose, I'm afraid. My roses are only just starting to flower, so I didn't have a rose. Tony says, hi, Elliot, one question. Isn't Ascot pronounced Ascot? No, Ascot. Ass as in, and then cot as in a baby's cot. Ascot. There you go. Everyone say it. Ascot. Ascot. Put them together, you get Ascot. You can, yeah, Ascot. I always say Ascot. Ascot. In fact, I was thinking maybe of doing a video for my other channel about how to pronounce British town names, because some of our town names here in the UK you also have over there in America if you're from America or Canada or even Australia. So I thought that would be quite interesting to see how we pronounce them here in the UK. And so if you want to sound like a true Brit, then you could listen to how I speak and you could pronounce the words that way too. Anne says, quite a dandy look. It is indeed. How far is Windsor from Ascot? I'm not entirely sure on the mileage. I don't think terribly far. I should be driving one of the carriages or fetching a cocktail. Yes, a gin and dubonnet would be very nice. Jerry Higgins says the US can't even pronounce Worcestershire. Really? Oh, yeah, Worcestershire. Yes. Yeah, okay. Worcestershire is, you pronounce, if you're American, I've heard people say it, Worcestershire. Worcestershire. No, it's Worcestershire. Or even Worcester. What is the sticker on the coat? It's just my normal badge and box bow by Dawn and brooch. The Queen Victoria brooch. We're surrounded by diamonds. Oh, Christine's come in with 25 miles. Well, there you go. I'm gonna trust you on that one. Sandy P said, I'm just fixing my tails. Let's have a little bit of a tail flounce. There we go. Look. Oh, it feels like I've got a train. There we go. I'm going to put my train out. Sandy P says, hi, Elliot. How are you today? Why is all the media in the UK and Australia all blaming Meghan for the split up with the Royal Foundation? Why? Well, you tell me. I mean, my goodness, yes. Of course, unless you've been living under a rock, you will not have this. It will not have escaped you that the Royal Foundation has announced that they are actually separating. I mean, some people calling it split, separation, whatever. Anyway, it is the parting of the ways. So basically, the Royal Foundation is being renamed the Royal Foundation for the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, and then Harry and Meghan are going to have their own foundation in due course. Now, some people are speculating that may be all before Christmas. So, you know, this might be the time period when Meghan is having a bit of downtime, you know, on maternity. She may obviously be working upon what their foundation is going to look like when it's announced. Again, I don't think anything has been finalized yet. They probably don't even have a name, although I would imagine they probably have a really good idea, obviously, which directions they want to go in. So I think they'll be working on that from now until the autumn, and then getting things all set up, ready for. I think they'll have a big reveal. They'll have some kind of big announcement reveal. But anyway, back to your question about why people are blaming. I have no idea. I mean, obviously there are narratives going on. There are hate narratives. There are financial narratives. Negative news sells. We all know that negative news sells. I wish it wasn't that way, but it does. People click and people go on to articles and things if it sounds slightly negative or intriguing in that way. I mean, we all know it's a load of nonsense, but you know, when people say these things over and over again, some people will begin to believe it, or at least question it, which is not good. But no, Meghan is not the instigator in all of this. I mean, you could say that one of the instigating factors was that Harry got married, and I think that could have been to anybody, and this would likely have happened because I think it was always the intention. Do you remember 14 months ago when they had the big seminar and they introduced Meghan into the Royal Foundation, and it was dubbed by the press and you know, royal watchers as the Fab Four, although that was never the official name. I think it was always the intention back then for them to work together in the Royal Foundation. In fact, the question was even asked about disagreements, and William made a bit of a joke about it. And I think, knowing what we know now, looking back to that moment, I think we can all kind of see that I think even in the very early stages of them all coming together, I think they all kind of knew that it wasn't going to work out. Now, I don't think, I still stand by, I don't think there was a royal feud or anything of that nature. I don't think it was anything bad. I just think it was a real realization that the two brothers are on different paths. You know, it's destiny. They always were. William's going to be king, Harry's not. And they've both got different interests. And when it comes to a big foundation, although a big charitable foundation can have obviously different and varied interests and different and varied charities, it needs one single direction and one single vision in terms of how it's run. And I don't think they could agree on it. Now, this could be, I think, looking back now, where we were seeing in the press little leaks about tensions. And I remember at the time saying, tensions, what a load of nonsense. And I still think, you know, all of these tensions and royal feuds are a load of old nonsense. I think what we were probably getting little bits of snippets of, and I don't know who's doing it. I think it was possibly people that work in the sector. It could have been from palace staff. I don't know. But I think this kind of notion that they just couldn't agree on a set path, on a direction, was probably leaking back. And that's how we got all the tensions thing. I don't think it was ever, you know, pistols at dawn and any of that business. I think it was just this realization: we're on two different paths. We've got two different futures. We still need to support the monarch. We still need to support charitable organizations. What's the best way of doing that? Well, you know, obviously, perhaps now is the better time to set yourself up for the future, for both of your roles, for William as Prince of Wales. Now, of course, that's not automatic. Prince of Wales would have to be bestowed on him. But I think that's likely to happen. I don't think in any way, shape or form, William will not be the Prince of Wales. So I think, you know, William's life as Prince of Wales and Harry's role supporting the monarch, who obviously will be Prince Charles, and then his brother in turn. So it's two very different paths. They've both got different ideas. They've both got different charities and directions they want to go in. I think that should always have been how it was put out there originally, to be quite honest. So I'm quite happy with the situation about how it's gone. I'm happy that William and Catherine have got their foundation. I'm happy that Harry and Meghan have got a chance to create something that suits and best fits them. I think it's all about best fit. And like I say, I think they soon realized at the very start of trying to work together that it wasn't a best fit. It was almost like just two different directions. And I think basically they've sorted themselves out, and this is the outcome that we've got. And I always say, wait until we get the official information. And of course, the official line was always divergent paths. That's what the word that we've had this week. They're on different divergent paths. And I believe that. Now, some negative Nancys out there, of course, are jumping all over this, saying, well, it proves that there was this feud and tensions. It doesn't at all. It could literally just be as simple as we tried and it didn't work out how we wanted it to be. It didn't have to be pistols at dawn or any of that kind of thing. And I always look at the two brothers very differently. William and Catherine, I've always thought of as having... Okay, I'm going to make a very crude analogy in terms of comparing William and Catherine to a caterpillar. Okay, bear with me on this one. You'll see what I mean. So in their royal life, I see them as having three distinct phases. The first one is Duke and Duchess, which of course is like the caterpillar stage. Then in the chrysalis, we have their next stage, which is the Prince and Princess of Wales. Then the third stage is as King and Queen, when they emerge as a butterfly. So there you go. My analogy worked, didn't it? So I always see them as having three stages, if you like. And with William, he's kind of almost, you know, he's going to, at some point, go up the rungs. Now, of course, that means, sadly, that the line has to shift. And that means that the one before in the line has to no longer be with us, sadly. So, you know, William's accession through those stages is going to be slow. And things are going to come to William at a different pace to what they are to Harry. Harry and Meghan, now that he's married and got a family, need to be set up now because their life is not going to change. They are going to be the Duke and Duchess of Sussex forever. That is their life. That is their role, supporting the monarch as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. They aren't going to have a change of title. That is their life. So to get Harry and Meghan set up now, I think, is a primary aim. And that's what we've seen. We've seen them going over to Buckingham Palace under the umbrella of Buckingham Palace, which is where they will be eventually anyway. We've seen them having their own home. Everyone knew they were going to have their own home. They're a newly married couple. Nottingham Cottage at Kensington Palace was never going to do. There was no space available at Kensington Palace in terms of a big apartment. They had to go elsewhere. They chose the seclusion and privacy of Windsor, Frogmore Cottage on the Frogmore estate, which again, I think was good. That set them up with their home. Although I do think they will eventually have a London base, whether it's rooms or apartments at Buckingham Palace. So it's all about, oh, and also with their Commonwealth roles as well. You know, Harry as a Commonwealth Youth Ambassador and President, and of course Meghan as Vice President of the Queen's Commonwealth Trust. They've been shaping their roles for the future that they will always be doing. Of course, obviously, their roles in terms of Commonwealth may change from time to time. I don't know, whatever best fits, but they have a role, they have a place. I think it's good to get them sorted. But William is still going through those phases. He's still Duke, and he's still waiting to be Prince of Wales. And I think a lot of things will come to William once he becomes Prince of Wales. Once everything shifts, Prince Charles becomes king, there is going to be a vacuum. There is going to be the space that Prince Charles currently occupies in terms of the Commonwealth and lots of other different areas. William will fill in that void. So people are saying, well, you know, Harry's got a big meaty Commonwealth role. Why hasn't William? What's William doing? How will William be accepted as, you know, potentially head of Commonwealth? I know obviously that has to be voted on, but, you know, why isn't William having a big meaty role? That is still to come. I think it's about this stage, this 3-stage approach. Once Prince Charles becomes king, William will take on the role that Prince Charles currently does within the Commonwealth. And I think we still have a lot to see from William. And of course, the Commonwealth is not going anywhere. It's a strong union of nations under shared beliefs and shared values. I think Prince Charles will do an incredible job as head of the Commonwealth, and I think he's very respected in there. And this is just my prediction, but I do think that Charles will follow his mother's suit and make his wish known when the time comes. And I anticipate, in terms of lifespans or whatever, probably within the next 20 years, I think Charles will be going to the Commonwealth and expressing his wish that his son and heir, William, succeed him or be accepted to succeed him in a vote as the next head of the Commonwealth after him. And then the Commonwealth nations, including the United Kingdom, have a clear binary choice. They either accept who is on offer, which will be William, or they find another way of that everyone can agree with, of course, of finding or electing the next head of the Commonwealth. Personally, I think they will stick with the status quo. And like I say, we still have a lot to see from William. And we have the next 20, 30 years to see that. And also, you know, he did say in Prince Charles's 70th birthday documentary that he plans to do the role of Prince of Wales differently to the current Prince of Wales. You know, he wants to make his own mark. But one thing that won't change is the involvement of the heir to the throne in the Commonwealth. That will be assured. I can assure you that there will be some kind of long-term plan for William in the Commonwealth. And I think that will come very much more into play once Charles becomes king. We've already seen major Commonwealth tours for William and Catherine. We've seen Australia, New Zealand, Canada, many Africa. We've seen many other foreign tours of Commonwealth nations. That will continue. And like I say, I think, you know, once Charles gets to a certain age in the future, when he's king, he will be deputizing things to William. And I certainly don't think that Harry has any ambitions to become head of the Commonwealth. I don't even think if it was offered to him on a platter, he would, because he's a military man. And, you know, one of the things that I think he prides himself on is his loyalty to monarch and country. And I don't think he would ever do anything to upset monarch and country. So yes, that is my opinions in terms of the Commonwealth. But of course, that has to be elected. And we are a long way off in terms of all of that. There we go. That's my kind of speech over. So I'm going to zoom all the way down to the bottom and see what people are saying in the chat. Let's have a look. Mrs. BSN says, I missed some of the chat. My mom called. Oh, no. But has anyone discussed the BBC sketch that features a dark-skinned... Oh, no. I've not even seen it. I've not even seen that. My goodness, no. My Magical says, I think after Charles, the Commonwealth will look at an elected head. It makes sense for them. That will be completely up to them. Like I say, I think what will be on offer from the UK is William. I think Charles will do the same. I think he will make his wish known that it be his son and heir. And then that will be up to the Commonwealth at that point. Live Love and Laugh says, my question is, didn't the Queen's children have separate households after they got married? They did, but it's all kind of under the umbrella of Buckingham Palace. There we go. And no, it wasn't made into a big deal, such as now. No, it was not. Karen, because I'm not, obviously then we get into the whole realm of where I think there is racism with it all, which I've learned something over the past 8 months since all this was going on. One thing that I didn't know before all of this happened, so there's a fly. Swat the fly away. One thing that I didn't know before all of this was I had no idea until people told me in chat that when people were kind of trying to put Meghan as being difficult and demanding, I had no idea that that had racial connotations. It's not me being ignorant. I just didn't know. You know, and one thing that I do is I listen. I do listen to people. I look at what people tell me. And yeah, I mean, sure enough, I went off and looked, and because enough people were telling me that had racial connotations. So I went away and looked, and sure enough, you know, demanding, difficult has been phrases and words that have been used to describe women of colour for a long time. And, you know, I had no idea about that because I personally don't associate women of colour with those things, but I can appreciate that that is being used in that way. So I do think there has been a racial narrative about the demanding and difficult, and that has been put out by certain press, certain YouTube channels, and it's all just disgusting and wrong. I didn't know about that previously, but I know now. So yes, I think that is where all of this has kind of come from. You know, that they were on that narrative that the split was because she's being demanding and blah 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 blah. And that's just, it's not true. I mean, that's the first thing to say. It's not true. I don't think she has been. If you've been watching me for a very long time, you will know that I've always thought that Meghan's been really, really good for Harry, really, really good for the royal family. I think she brings a lot into the family, and she's certainly widened the appeal of monarchy to a wider audience that probably didn't feel interested or represented until they had someone that they could feel a connection with. And I think they can definitely feel a connection with Meghan. And I think she's going to go on with Harry to do amazing things with their charitable foundation. And I see no problem with William and Catherine having theirs and going on their path, and Meghan and Harry going on their path. And of course, as I've been trying to kind of educate people about the royal family that might not know, because again, I appreciate that some people don't know these things, that of course the star of the show is the monarch. It always will be. At the moment, that's Queen Elizabeth. Then it will be Prince Charles. Then it will be William. And all of the other members of the family support that monarch. So everyone kind of sorts themselves out because they all know and respect country, and they all respect the monarch. So there we go. And I will probably repeat that several times because, you know, it's a notion that kind of needs understanding by people, definitely. HN the King says, Her Majesty has been on the throne long enough and gained enough expertise to realise responding to the press will just be the start. Never complain, never explain, suck it up. Yeah, I mean, there is, I think, a little bit of cultural differences in terms of how monarchy responds to the press. I think it's very difficult for people who do not have a monarchy to really truly understand what it is like to have one, especially when there are different values and, you know, different cultural differences. Say, for example, other countries that, you know, kind of have a presidential system or other systems of government, and they have celebrities. You know, celebrities sue left, right, and centre if stories are said that they don't like. You know, they court, in a way, sometimes they court that kind of attention. Not all the time. I mean, sometimes there's some horrible stories written that probably do need sorting out. And what we have seen from William and Harry is certain red lines. We know that when those pictures came out of Catherine when she was on holiday, when she was pictured without a top on, that was a red line. And William sued. That was completely a red line. We know with Harry, one of the major red lines is privacy. Do not invade my home. When those photographs came out inside the house, when they flew the helicopter over and they got photos inside the windows, inside their bedroom, that was a major red line. That was a no-no. So, you know, they do respond when red lines are crossed. When it comes to gossip, tittle-tattle, they don't. And the reason is, and I've said this many, many times before, I'll say it again, if you start responding to it, it makes them worse, because you get that rapport almost with the press. It's almost like you're validating their story, their rubbish, horrible, vile narrative stuff that they're putting out there. It's almost like you are validating it by giving it a response. They want you to respond. That's what they want. So let's just say, I don't know, someone puts something out and it's a complete load of nonsense, and then the palace goes, no, that's not true. Then that gives them the chance to go back and write another article spewing up their vile again, but this time commenting on what officially the palace said. It's like a back and forth. It's like, to use an American phrase, getting more bang for your buck. If the palace responds, it makes them worse. And if they know that you're going to respond, they will write even more stories. I mean, I know that's hard to believe that they could write even more than what they are right now, but they will write more just to get a response, to get double stories, to get double money. Do you see the kind of circle? And I know it's not right. You know, people should be able to defend themselves in that kind of a way. But in terms of the monarchy, that don't complain and never explain has worked for a very long time. And hopefully this will kind of die down a bit. I think once things fit into a more regular pattern, don't forget, you know, within the first year of marriage, it's a lot of firsts, you know, first pregnancy, first birthday, so first Father's Day, the wedding, you know, first Commonwealth Day, second balcony appearance. There's a lot of kind of early firsts going on, and there will continue to be for a little while. But I think when new foundation coming up, new tours, I think once things have settled down a little bit, I'm hoping that things will die down and back off. Only time will tell on that one, so we'll have to wait and see. But yes, I do think there is definitely different cultural approaches to how you deal with negative stories, you know, and the UK does vary from other countries. MDQ Queen says, understood monarch's goals, but believe the public smackdown was humiliating. What? We will see if they are frozen out socially and professionally, if Meghan is shunned socially. Oh no, what is all this? I don't think anyone's shunning Meghan within the royal family. I think that's not something that's true. Becky Ray says, I think the pictures of Archie so far are adorable. I don't blame them for their privacy. They are sweet pictures and I'm grateful for them sharing. Yes, I mean, any royal baby photos are welcome. And I think the ones that they selected are adorable and cute and very artistic. I like these kind of artsy compositions. I like kind of seeing almost little peekaboo glimpses of Archie, and it was really welcome, obviously on Father's Day, to see his face and his eyes and head. By the way, sorry if I still haven't got a new webcam. It does operate in low light. Payday Bracken says the Queen has always had the attitude to never complain, never explain. The royal family has always pretty much ignored press, good and bad. Meghan knew what she's getting into. And again, that kind of feeds into the whole, the monarchy are not celebrities. Again, that's kind of a mantra that needs to be repeated, I think. Angelica says, I think showing us pictures of his feet and half his face is disrespectful. No, I think it's just their artistic choices in terms of photographs. PP says, I am happy for them as well. They are already planning the future so they can reach for more people who need them. William is a future king, and that is one way. Harry and Meghan have their own. Exactly. Annette says, okay, here's my question. Prince Charles makes the financial allocations to William. Technically, at the moment, yes. Under the Duchy of Cornwall, which the Prince of Wales currently holds, that will pass to William eventually. So yes, all of William's activities, household, everything is funded through the Duchy of Cornwall, as was Harry and Meghan's up until, I think now that they've moved, which is going to be shared. So the cost is going to be shared between the Queen and the Duchy of Cornwall. So that is how it will be. Thank you for people saying good explanation. I try. Linda says, Harry has started 2 charities on his own. Yes, and of course, one thing I would like to clarify from an earlier video, it did mention in the official Royal Foundation news articles announcing that this separation was going to happen. It did talk about the Invictus Games. Now, of course, the Invictus Games is Harry's charity, so that, of course, is going with Harry. That's his charity. It has its own foundation. It's run by itself. The confusion came in because the reason why it was mentioned in the Royal Foundation news briefing was because the Invictus Games was set up with a £1 million donation from the Royal Foundation. So the Royal Foundation really helped the Invictus Games get off the ground in its embryonic stage. You know, £1 million to set up a new charity is a big boost to that charity. So that is why the Royal Foundation was claiming, you know, lots of successes because of that, because it invested in the Invictus Games to get that set up. So I still think the Royal Foundation will have a close relationship with the Invictus Games. I think they will, you know, always be very friendly towards each other, of course. But yes, that is Harry's baby. That 100%, I don't think there was any question about that, is, of course, that is Harry's. So that will not be remaining part of the Royal Foundation. Martin Gahan says, yes, the driving distance between Windsor Castle to Ascot is 6 miles. It takes approximately 8 minutes to drive from Windsor Castle to Ascot. Well, there you go. I was not sure of the exact distance. Ruxy, I'm sorry, I do not, I don't speak your language. If you can speak English, please rephrase it and I will read it. Cheryl says, you also have to think about the children coming up and they need to leave something for the children to carry on and help out. Yes, I agree. Julie says, the analogy works. Thank you. I was hoping that would get across some way. Floss and Rug Payne says, Harry would not be sharing offices of the Duke of Cambridge when he becomes... Exactly. So that was going to have to change at some point anyway. And I just think they had this lovely notion that they were going to all work together. And then I think when it happened, they just realized we need to make the bigger change now, because different paths, different ideas, different ways of working, different ways of thinking, different ways of organizing things. It just did. They tried, and it just didn't work out. Barbara Long says, everyone has forgotten what Harry said at the Heads Together event, and Harry admitted that they had differences. Yes, I mentioned that. It was asked, and they all kind of joked about it. William did a bit of a joke about it. And I think at that point, the clues were there that this may not work out. I don't think it was, you know, it wasn't pistols at dawn. It was just, you know, just... they couldn't agree. I just don't think they could agree on which direction it was going to go in. Okay, I am now, because I've reached the top of that chart, I'm going to go all the way back down and read up again. Let's have a look. Catherine says, Ari, the baby photo, the crazies are saying, oh yes, different baby doll, blah, blah, blah. Thinner, blah, blah, very newborn babies. Oh, yes. Okay. There are some people out there, conspiracy theorists, who are saying for a long time that it was a fake pregnancy, that the baby is a doll, some kind of silicone doll. That obviously is not true. That is just a complete load of nonsense. And, you know, I think that started from Lizard Lady, and then it's been picked up by lots of other things. You know, a lot of things have changed around me as a channel since I came into this space, what, 4 years ago? My first video was 4 years ago. Then I had a bit of about probably, you know, an 8-month break in between videos. So since I've been doing this, since before Meghan came on the scene into Harry's life, the space around me has completely changed on YouTube. I'm talking about. And I think I've pretty much stayed the same. If you go back and find my earlier videos, I think I've pretty much stayed constant. I'm a bit like the Queen. I'm steadfast. I stay constant. I always listen, and you know, I can change my view if I'm convinced enough to change my view on something. I will change my view. I'm very flexible, but in my approach to things, I'm very steadfast. And I don't think I've changed terribly too much. I've become a better YouTuber, I think. I think I've evolved that way, but I'm pretty much the same. The way I approach things is the same. I like truth. I like honesty. I don't like fake news or any of that business. So I think I'm pretty much the same, but everything else around me has completely changed. The space has changed. We have the introduction. When I first started, I was the only one on YouTube talking about the royal family. Now we have lots of different people talking about the royal family. We have tarot readers. We have conspiracy theorists making videos. We have lots of robot voices going on. We have human voices that are just completely talking a load of what I can only describe as what they think up when they're sat on the toilet each morning. Just complete lies, you know, like Camilla's been kicked out of the castle again and all that business. So the space has changed. It's gone from one, when I first started, of being quite factual. Anyone who made any type of royal video, it was just like photographs set to music or that kind of thing. Now it's gossip, 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 tabloid, 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 insults, hate, tarot, conspiracy. Everything's changed around me, but I do think that I have stayed quite constant and the same. So I'm hoping people still like that. And I'm just holding out, you know, the hope that I know some of those other types of videos get big clicks and get big views, but I always kind of hold out a little bit of hope that there will always be a space for the truth and the honesty and someone just giving their honest opinion about what they know about royal life. You know, I have a lifetime of acquired royal knowledge, which I like to share, and of course which I can apply things to when I give my reviews or when I give comments. So I'm hoping that people, you know, will stick around. MDQ Quinn says, love your discussions. Some of us are concerned about the ongoing handling of Meghan in the press. This is not gossip. Yes, she has been treated bad. Other royals have also been treated bad in the past. There is a big history. I'm sure many of you know lots of it. But at the moment, Meghan is being treated appalling. I agree. And there are racial undertones. There are financial undertones. I think, you know, a lot of the British press are concerned with money, but yet they are still validating and pushing out these narratives, some of which are racially motivated. Not all royal reporters are racially motivated, I don't think. I think that would be too broad a stroke to brush them all with. But I have seen some articles being written, or at least narratives being pushed out, like, for example, Meghan being demanding and difficult and all of that business. You know, it's either one of two things. It's either, like me, they didn't know that that's what that meant, or they do know and they are pushing it out there, which is bad, which they definitely shouldn't be doing. And you guys know who are the ones that are doing that. I know you know, because you know I look at tweets. I know I don't have a Twitter presence, but I look at tweets. I do go onto the Royal Reporters and I do read the comments, and I know that people are talking to them and engaging them in conversation about what they put out there. I know that goes on. I'm not stupid. You know, like I say, I listen, I do listen, and I take things in and I understand and where things need to be learned. I learn, and you know, hey, as a person, you grow when you learn and you understand things and you look at things from other people's perspective, and that's how life works. You learn. You know, at one time I didn't know anything about the royal family. I learned. I listen, I read, I look. That's how you learn. That's how you learn and grow as a person. Linda says Archie has not inherited any bald head from Harry. He's a baby. Oh, have people been saying that? My goodness, he's a baby. Lots of babies have bald heads. And then as you get older, you kind of start looking like a baby again because you go bald. That's the way it works. It's genetics. Martin Gahan says, I can't see any reason why anyone would have a problem with Prince William being head of the Commonwealth. Me neither. But I think there is, again, a little bit of a narrative about, well, Harry's doing lots of Commonwealth work, therefore it should be Harry. Harry's respected in the Commonwealth. Yes, Harry will always be respected in the Commonwealth for the work in which he is doing and the roles of which he has been given by the Queen and the Palace to fulfill for his life. You know, that he will have a major meaty Commonwealth role for his life. But we've still yet to see the particular meaty role that William will occupy once Charles becomes king and his current role as Prince of Wales becomes vacant. I think we have a lot to see still to come. Watch this space. Hayden the King says, this is a chat about the royal family, not a race inequality discussion. That exists, but this isn't the platform. I agree. This is obviously a royal family chat, but these are issues which are being spoken about, and they are coming up. But let's move on. We have spoken about it. MDQ Quinn says peekaboo photos of babies are very popular in America, seen as not. Well, yeah, I did say it was artistic. Margaret says, dearest Elliot, I wish you would stop giving the tabloid stories mileage by talking about them so much here. Please let's get on with the royal news that is true and honest. Like I said before, I think sometimes things need talking about and pointing out. But I agree, let's not go on about it too much. PJR says, do you think I could get put on that Duchy of Cornwall list? What list? List? Am I missing something? Anne Berg says, as long as there is money to be made or on vicious press and such, it won't stop, sadly. Food for thought for us consumers. Exactly. You can choose to click or not. There we go. Now I'm going to skip down again. So if I'm going to keep going up and down. It kind of keeps me a little bit more constant with the chat. But if I have missed your comment, I am very sorry. Please type it again. Okay, let's go up a touch. So Vinnie Blair says the royal family need to show they support Meghan. These are not normal times, and when good people keep silent, evil is allowed to grow and spread. The royal family is guilty of this. Again, I think it is a culture disparity. And I think they do show that they support Meghan. Going back to before when Harry was dating Meghan, he put out that statement when they were being nasty to her. Now that she's joined the royal family, things slightly change. Like I said, and I went through the explanation. You can kind of choose to accept it or not, but responding to them makes it worse unless they cross a red line. And like I say, we've seen two red lines be displayed. One was, body privacy, those topless photographs of Catherine. The other was personal space, your personal home space. Harry and Meghan drew the red line that is not acceptable, and the fact that they sued and won means that I very much doubt anybody will be having helicopters over Frogmore Cottage. Robin says the Together cookbook has sold 133,000 copies. No credit given for that. Her fashions sell out in less than 48 hours. Tourism up tremendously since her arrival. No credit is pure ignorance. Well, of course, the cookbook was a tremendous success. And I mean, I think people did speak about how well it had done soon after it was done. But yes, 133,000 copies and all the money it raised for the Hub Kitchen so it can stay open for longer and even potentially expand, I think is an amazing thing that should be spoken about. Okay. The Raven says, I think the blue at Ascot was planned. Isn't blue the Queen's favourite colour? I think the fashions at Ascot have been very coordinated this year. We've definitely seen royals matching in terms of the colours and outfits that they've worn. Oh, we saw Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, or rather Sarah, Duchess of York, was accompanying Andrew yesterday, and she looked fabulous. She did her very deep low curtsy. We've seen Princess Beatrice, and usually there we have seen Jack Brooksbank, we've seen Princess Anne, we've seen William and Catherine. The only ones we haven't seen are Harry and Meghan, but hey, here's hoping for next year. We've also seen lots of friends of the Queen being treated to a place in the carriage procession as well. So it's been a good Royal Ascot. The Queen has so much stamina. She has attended the full 5 days, and that must take some doing at 93. But we know that the Queen is a goddess, and she keeps rocking on. I've got an itch under my hat. There we go. Ooh, top hat problems. Yes, I've got an itch. Yeah. So Royal Ascot, I think, went off without a hitch. It was plagued at times by rain, but the Queen and the royal family had their trusty umbrellas, their Fultons, where you could see through, which are great umbrellas. If you haven't tried one, get a Fulton birdcage umbrella. They are really, really good. So I think fun was had. Ladies' Day again was spectacular with all the different fashions. The horses looked. I love seeing the horses, and I know people may have opinions about horse racing, but I can see how it would be really enjoyable, an enjoyable day out to get dressed up and put on your best and your finery, and go out there and have a good time with like-minded people that love equestrian sports. So yes, I think it was a very good time. Let me know your favourite outfit of any royal that was at Royal Ascot this year. Ketogenic Kim says the Queen looked beautiful and bright. It makes me happy to see her so well, as does it me. My Magical says I agree. It's partly a cultural disparity with regards to the monarchy, especially. Monarchy is also a feeling, and it's very difficult to explain a feeling to somebody, but it's how you feel, and it's also how the monarchy and the monarch and the family are connected to country. The monarch is the only one that has an official role. Even the Prince of Wales doesn't have an official role. The monarchy is the monarch. That is the only person that has an official role. If Prince Charles wanted to, he could take his Duchy of Cornwall profits and sit on a beach, on a Caribbean beach. He could have sat on a Caribbean beach all these years waiting to become king. He doesn't have an official formal requirement to have a role. Of course, the royal family, it's widely accepted that they support the monarch. But my point is, there is no official, job description in terms of being a working royal. That's almost just a terminology that has been phrased around the royal family as a whole. But no, the only one that really matters is the monarch, and it's very hard to describe to someone who doesn't have a monarchy how that feels in terms of a feeling, because that monarch is the physical embodiment of your country. That monarch is the physical pride that you have, and I think that was deeply understood by the Queen just after Diana had sadly passed after that terrible car accident. The outpouring of grief for Diana was so strong because she was so loved. And I think the Queen was obviously up at Balmoral. She was supporting her family. She saw it as her duty to support her family, to support Charles and to support William and Harry through that terrible, difficult time. But I think the one thing that actually she didn't understand, and I think after all these years, all those years of being monarch, I don't think she truly understood how much of a focal point to the nation she actually was, because everybody flocked to Buckingham Palace, everybody stood outside those gates, everybody wanted their Queen. She was the person that they wanted, and I think it hit the Queen. I think lessons most certainly were learned by the Queen after Diana, when she truly, I think, understood how much the people need her at times of crisis. If there's a national crisis, the Queen is the figurehead. And that's another thing, the Queen has most definitely been a modernizing monarch. She's had such a very long reign, but so much modernization has happened throughout her reign. She has presided over the most, I suppose, she's presided over the digital era, the technological era, just as much as Queen Victoria provided over the Industrial Revolution. Our Queen, the Queen Elizabeth, has presided over medical advancements, scientific developments, space travel, communications, the internet, digital age, so much things, and she has always kept up with it. Now, she's famous for keeping up. She's never particularly been ahead of the game, but she's always kept up. When it was time to put the royal family online, she did. She sent her first tweet. She was the first monarch to voluntarily pay tax. There has been lots of firsts. She was the first queen to be a car mechanic back in the war. She most definitely has accepted new members of the family in, and in doing so has welcomed new cultures and different heritages into the family. She most certainly has not sat on her laurels. She's also, she opened up the family slightly to television with the coronation. It was the first coronation to be televised, and she allowed that to happen. So there has been lots of modernization that the Queen has done, and even now she still keeps up with where the public mood is. The only time, going back to Diana, that I think she was slightly behind in terms of judging the public mood was after Diana's sad passing. She didn't understand how much the public, her subjects, needed her at that time. That was the only time I can think of where she misjudged the public mood. But other than that, she has kept on top of the public mood. She's kept up with the times. Like I say, she's never gone beyond it, but she's always kept up with it. And that most definitely is a modernizing monarch. We have a donation, 1999 from Darlene. Thank you so much. You say, here's a little something for the kitties, your garden, or whatever. Thanks for putting so much into your channel and other social media accounts. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I'm going to give you a fan flap for that. So thank you so much. Woo! My pad just dropped. I'm sure you just heard it. There we go. I've not needed my notes today. Everything's just kind of flowed quite well. Now, let's see what other people are saying. Let me know if you can think of any other occasions where the Queen has modernized the monarchy. Anne Brewer says, I want to visit the UK and see all the castles. Oh, castles are lovely. I love castles. Carnarvon Castle, where the Prince of Wales was invested, is amazing. It's almost like a ruin, pretty much, but it is a really good castle. And I've stood on the Welsh slate dais where Prince Charles was invested, and that was a lovely moment. In fact, I think I did put that photograph of me stood there on my Instagram account, royal_reviewer. I am, says Annette Wells White, you are correct. The Commonwealth will have more questions concerning William. Entitlement, the mindset of the Commonwealth has and will certainly change in 20 to 30 years. Well, I can agree with you on 20 to 30 years is a very long time and anything can change. And I agree that at that time, when Charles undoubtedly will express his wish on the fact that he will want his son and heir to take on that role, it will be up to the people of that time, 20 to 30 years time, to make that decision. And I am sure that they will make whatever choice they feel that they can agree upon as a nation of 53 nations, including obviously the UK. In fact, we don't even know how many nations there will be in 20 to 30 years. The Commonwealth could grow even more. It could be a bigger Commonwealth of nations. So again, I agree. I don't think anyone knows exactly what's going to happen in 20 to 30 years. But I think one thing that you can almost certainly predict is that Charles will probably follow his mother's footprints and you know, express his wish that William be accepted as his successor to the Commonwealth. And like I say, that will be up to those people of the time to either agree or disagree. And that will open up the path as to how the Commonwealth moves forwards in that time. Candice Bavaria says, many Welsh castles are worth a visit, but most are in ruins. Yeah, Carnarvon was lovely. My favourite castle is in Scotland. Oh, Edinburgh Castle. I haven't been, but I would love to. Oh, yes, I will take a sip. Drink. I will. I love Jolene as a favourite Dolly song. Candice. Jolene, 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 I'm begging of you, please don't take my man or my drink. Oh, Adavis, $25, thank you. And you say, this is my favourite episode of all, thank you. Well, I'm just I'm musing today. I'm having a bit of a Royal Ascot muse. Thank you so much for your very kind donation. Yes, I'm just having a bit of a thought dump. I've been doing lots of thinking this week. Lots of listening and looking and thinking. And yes, I needed a bit of a mind dump, I think they call it. Do they call it a mind dump? Well, I've called it a mind dump. My Magical says, like her namesake, Elizabeth Regina, she has been innovative and modernising. Most definitely. She most definitely has been a modernising monarch. Robin Rogers says, HM has made outstanding accomplishments. I admire her. The negativity and hatred directed to any member of her family is an indirect disrespect to her. Oh, I agree. I mean, how can anybody be mean to the Queen? She has the loveliest fluffy hair ever, and 92 years young, 93 years young. I mean, it's just, she's fabulous. She really, really is. And I think, you know, age has not marred the Queen at all. Just the fact that she is 93. I mean, 93, schminety-free. She's got a whole life ahead of her. My goodness. You know, age has not diminished the Queen in any way, shape or form. Like I say, she has been a continual modernizer. She has kept the royal family up to date. She hasn't exceeded it, but she has kept it up to date. She has allowed change to happen. Quietly. She hasn't made a big fuss. She hasn't made a big song and dance about it. She's just allowed things to gradually progress and happen. She hasn't ever put her foot up and said, a hand up rather, a foot. Can you imagine her putting her foot up? No, she hasn't sort of said no to anything. She's let the monarchy kind of, you know, keep up with times quietly. Like I say, you know, she's not a big show off. She hasn't made a big song and dance about it. But she's done that, and age has not diminished her at all. Her mind is still as sharp as ever. You know, she knows what's going on. She is one clued up lady, believe me. She knows exactly what's going on in the family, in the wider world, with the government, in the Commonwealth. She knows, you know, and she gets out and meets real people. She talks to real people when she's on engagements. You know, she does talk to people and listen. That's one of the things that she really likes about royal engagements and walkabouts and things, is getting to meet real people. So yes, she is very clued up, and age has not diminished her at all. The Raven says the Queen has done a lot of firsts with the monarchy. One of the reasons I adore her. In fact, I may have just read that one out. I don't know. Liv Loveland says, loved the stacked hats hat. The teapot hat, very innovative. My Magical says, you are spot on. She had no idea until that dreadful moment, but also the nation wanted to see her respect Diana's memory by leading the country's grief. My respect for her grew at this point. Exactly. And she listened. I mean, just like me. She listened. She did listen. She listened to what was being said. And even though I think she felt that she was needed with her family, she did come down to London at that time and she addressed the nation, because that's what the nation needed. So yes, she listened. So I kind of see myself a bit like the Queen in that way. You know, steadfast, but listens. I listen. And, you know, I can change my opinion and, yeah, learn and grow. Catherine says, a day at the races. Lovely. Hats are fantastic. Hair issues instantly gone. Oh, yes. I'm hiding a multitude of sins under this hat. Pop Tart says, hello. You look especially dapper in that suit. Thank you. And top hat and tie. And tails. Don't forget my tails. If you've not seen my tails, if you've just joined, I have full-on tails. There we go. I'm going to put them like that so it looks like I've got a nice little fan going on. The Queen has done a wonderful job keeping up with modern times. Prince Harry and Meghan were able to marry. So great. Exactly. You know, she accepted, you know. Not that there was anything not to accept anyway. I mean, there's no issue. Tony Johnson says, it is my understanding that there isn't a financial duchy. No, yes, there is no... the Dukedom of Sussex doesn't come with any independent money. That is correct. Could an individual fill their coffers? No. Follow-up question, will Prince Harry remain Duke of Sussex? Yes. Yes, there will be no climb in title, because there isn't really anything particularly higher that he could get. I mean, think about the Duke of Edinburgh, who remained the Duke of Edinburgh all the way through his life, from when he was made Duke of Edinburgh, of course. And, you know, he wasn't made Prince Consort or elevated any higher. So, yes, the Dukedom of Sussex will be with Harry until his last breath. Becky Ray says, the Queen's pink hat with feathers. Oh, I loved that one. Do you know what? I need to buy some feathers. I can just see some feathers coming out of my top hat. Darlene says, Ascot hats are the best. They most definitely are. Stephanie A. Dory says, horse racing has been celebrated in many cultures. It's fun and also big. Oh, it's major business. In fact, I think it's one of Ireland's biggest exporters. Or is it Northern Ireland or Ireland? Anyway, the Isle of Ireland, I think, has a major you know, horse economy. I was trying to think of the words then. Ketogenic Kim says, crazy question. Was Princess Diana's engagement ring fashioned after the Prince Albert brooch? I'm sorry. American. Well, no, I think it was just a classical shape. I mean, as you see, this is the Prince Albert brooch, which kind of does resemble Diana's ring. You are quite right. It's surrounded by diamonds with a big central sapphire in the middle. No, I think it is just a classical shape ring. You know, a central stone surrounded by diamonds. It could be rubies, it could be sapphires, it could be, you know, a diamond surrounded by diamond, or an emerald, or any kind of gem surrounded by diamond is a typical classical engagement ring shape. But Diana's one does very much resemble this, and of course, the brooch that she had made into a choker as well, which I still want to see make its debut soon, I hope. Anne says, I love Easter because I wear a beautiful hat to go with my dress and new shoes. I want to see it. Share a picture. Martin Gahan says, I agree, you do your homework. I try my best. Master says, thumbs up, everyone. You look very dapper. Thank you so much. Oh, do we have another donation? Shanna says, in honour of my dog, Charlie. Oh, no. Oh, I'm so sorry. He passed. Thank you for making me smile today for the first time. Oh, you definitely get a fan flap. Thank you so much for your kind donation. And that was for you. And this is for your dog as well. Please share some memories in my group. If it helps, share some photographic memories. If you have already, I haven't been in much today, but feel free to share some memories in my group. If you're not a member, it's Royal Reviewer on Facebook. Royal Reviewer and Friends on Facebook, I should say. So do go and join, and feel free to share your pictures if it will help. Mwah. Daziga says, I saw the video with one of the York princesses doing an engagement during the week. Oh, yes. Beatrice. I've always wondered how they hold a job and also do those engagements. Well, that was another thing I wanted to comment on. It's on my list, is the future of the York princesses, because we have, I mean, ever since I started doing live chats, people have always been commenting on the future of the York princesses. And I've always said, again, I'm very steadfast in my opinion. I think that eventually they will come into their own and they will be full-time working roles because of sheer capacity. In terms of when the Queen's cousins eventually are no longer able to do the work, once the Queen might not even be with us, once we have a shift, there is going to be a lot of slack. There's going to be lots of charities which are not going to be, they will be left without a royal patron. Princess Anne is at full capacity. I mean, I don't think anybody expects Princess Anne to take on any more work. She's a tireless workhorse. From me, Princess Anne gets the pass. You know, Anne, you do not have to take on any more royal duties. Now, I'm sure she will. She's the sort of person that wouldn't. If the Queen, you know, offloaded another load of patronages, I am sure Anne would take some up. But in my opinion, she doesn't need to, because she's a tireless workhorse. She regularly tops the royal charts in terms of engagements worked. So, and also Charles as well. I think Charles has got so much on his plate. He's always out working. The younger royals, William, Catherine, Harry, Meghan, are going on their own paths with their charitable foundations. I do think they will pick up some work from the Queen and from the royal cousins eventually, once that starts to be offloaded. But they have their own paths. They're trying to shape their own destinies, which leads me to the only blood princesses of the younger generation that we have in the UK that are able to do engagements. Of course, I'm discounting Princess Charlotte from this because she's too young. I think they will be needed, and they are perfect for the role. I think not having them as full-time working royals is doing the country a disservice, because they are delightful, lovely young ladies. Think what you will about their fashion. I know that's questionable ever since the pretzel hat at William and Catherine's wedding, but regardless of fashion, whether you like their fashion, don't like their fashion, they are young girls who are lovely. They are lovely, delightful, charming young girls who, when they do go on engagements, people love them. You can tell that people are really happy to see them. They're engaged. They support charities off their own back, which they feel they have a connection with. So if they were made full-time working royals, not only could they pick up some slack, but also they have their own directions of charities and organizations which they are already patron of. And they also hold down full-time jobs as well, which I do find incredible. So I think what we're seeing is by the way, they are funded currently by the Duke of York. They aren't funded officially, but the Duke of York does support them on top of whatever they earn from their jobs. I don't know how much they earn. And of course, Eugenie lives at Ivy Cottage at Kensington Palace, which is not too far from Nottingham Cottage, where Harry and Meghan used to live. And Beatrice is at St James's Palace in an apartment there. So I do think that they will become working roles at some point. I think Charles would be daft not to. I think eventually he will see that there is some slack that needs picking up and that they are perfect for the job. I think there is a little bit of an operation behind the scenes from the Duke of York's camp trying to get them ready for that occasion. Like I say, the Duke of York is funding their operations in terms of what they are doing privately, in terms of charities and things. But I think they're just trying to demonstrate that they can do the job, and they can, because it's paying off. People are beginning to wake up and pay attention to what they're capable of. I myself put out videos of what they do, and I think once word gets out a lot more that they are perfect for the jobs and perfect for the roles, then I think it may happen. But again, we have no official word on that. It is just speculation and opinion. But I think they're perfect for the roles. I really, really do. And I would love to see them become full-time working royals, supporting, William again, just like Harry and Meghan are, supporting William as his cousins when the time comes, just like the Queen has had the support from her royal cousins. Let me know what you think. The Raven says the Kentucky Derby in the US is the US version of Ascot, and the headwear there is just as outrageous, except at KD. They do it on purpose. Not sure what KD. Oh, the Kentucky Derby. Right, I get you, KD. The only time I've seen the Kentucky Derby is when I used to follow Anna Nicole Smith, and she used to go there, didn't she? So I did see a little bit of the Kentucky Derby through the eyes of Anna Nicole. And yes, it is kind of similar, but I think Ascot has the royal factor about it. Anne Berg says monarchy equals continuity, among other things, values. Exactly. It's not Big Brother, it's not American Idol, it's not the X Factor. It's, you can't vote them in and out. But that has its perks and benefits too, including continuity being one. Martin Khan says ITV must have been talking about the royals and their footage is good. What? Palmer says, even though I'm American, I do get the monarchy. Good, I'm glad, and I'm hoping that more and more people will. Okay, lots of people talking about Ascot. I will zoom down to the bottom. My Magical says, I think Charles is thinking to shave down the amount of senior royals to appease the taxpayer. Yes, but also, I think the taxpayer also wouldn't be terribly happy if by shaving off the official royals, that also shaved off a lot of charities that were being supported and benefit from having a royal patron. So I think there's balance. There's being cost effective, and then there's being counterproductive. And I think by shaving it off too much in terms of working royals, that to me is counterproductive. I think it diminishes the reach of the monarchy into parts of the country and the rest of the world, because obviously, royals do also have global appeal too. So yes, I would see that as being counterproductive. But I do support being cost effective. And I think we have seen, again, talking about the Queen modernizing, one of the things the Queen has done also is make the monarchy more cost effective. The monarchy has never been as cost effective as it is currently at the moment. Public finances are there for everyone to see. The Queen has most definitely drilled down on the expenditure of the family. I'm not saying there's not more to do. There probably are more, always with technology. There is probably more cost-effective ways of doing things. But I think that's the way of making the monarchy justifiable to the taxpayer. I don't think by cutting off charities is the way. And I think people in this country are very charitable. We are a charitable nation. Whenever there is, a world disaster, Britain is one of the first sending aid and, having TV donations to raise money. We are a very charitable country. And I think if people in this country saw that work was, support and work was being taken away from those charities, I think that would be counterproductive. Yes, I'd love to visit Holyrood House too. Maria Barr says, I agree about the York Princesses. They are both lovely and doing a great job. Whenever they do engagements and when appearing with the royal family, they seem so sincere with their charities. They do. I mean, like I say, I think a little bit of it is proving. They're trying to cut their teeth. They're trying to prove, I think, to Charles that they can do it. And they have. To me, they have proved that off their own back, they can do it. Anne Brewer says, this is so addictive, I can't stop watching. Yes, I like Anna Nicole too. She was beautiful, a big, beautiful Barbie doll. I loved Anna Nicole. I know you probably wouldn't associate me particularly with Anna Nicole, but I think I got and understood Anna Nicole. She was just a big child inside. I can resonate with that. Elaine Bynes says, Duke of York is the only one in the royal family I do not like. Everyone has their favourites. Becky Ray says, the Queen gets around better than I do and you're only 65. What's 93? My goodness. 93 schmitey-3. Oh, who's a pain in the posterior, says Scott Goff. Who? Who were you talking? Who was I talking about that you called a pain in the posterior? Oh, also, talking about the future of the York Princesses, I was also doing a lot of thinking about that as well. Now, remember the orangery at Kensington Palace. It was having a basement extension for offices. Now, remember at the time, I said, well, I think that's to clear out the offices from apartments 8 and 9, which are Diana's old apartments, to make way for some kind of royal residence. At the time, I thought Harry and Meghan. But obviously now we know that they've located to Frogmore. So I still think that apartments 8 and 9 are either eventually going to be made back into one big apartment or could be kept as 2. And I think that they are still being mooted for some kind of royal occupancy. Why else would you go through such a costly expenditure of a 2-story basement under a grade 1 listed orangery to build extra office space to free up the offices from apartments 8 and 9 if it was not for 8 and 9 to be some kind of royal accommodation? Could that be for the York Princesses? We know Eugenie has apartment as Ivy Cottage. Could it be for Beatrice in the future? Could it be, two separate bigger apartments for Eugenie and Beatrice? Could it even be for down the line, thinking about, well into the future, George and Charlotte or Louis? But I do think that apartments 8 and 9 are going to be royal accommodation at some point. Oh yes, HM the King says, make sure you point out that everyone must answer the 3 questions to join the Facebook group. Yes, to join the community group, we cannot accept you unless you answer the 3 questions. It's to make sure that you're not some kind of, I don't know, bot or just someone with bad intentions. There are a lot of grumpy people out there. So don't be grumpy and answer the 3 questions. Flosmo Payne says, yes, Jamie, HM horse lover who knows her business, apparently used to have regular horsey holidays in Kentucky. Anne Brewer says, you're beautiful. Oh, thank you. A beautiful soul. What, this soul? You have so much knowledge about the monarchy and you represent them so wonderfully. Thank you. Mwah to you too. Mrs. BSN says, what happens to the charities that their patron passes? Oh, if their patron passes away or retires, do those charities get picked up by others? Well, technically, if your patron passes away, you do not have a patron. But what happened when, for example, the Queen Mother passed away, who was still patron of many, 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 many charities at the time when she passed? I do believe the story goes that they had all of the charities written out on cards. They got all the family together. They put all the cards on the table and they said, right, pick some. And they all rallied around and picked up those charities that they felt best matched them. And because they didn't want those charities to go without a royal patron. Which brings me to the point, which is exactly why life is a circle, life is a circle. So it brings me back around in a circle to my point about Beatrice and Eugenie. I think when it comes to the point of the royal cousins and the Queen not being there, once they have all those cards, metaphorically speaking, on the table, is Charles going to allow those charities to go without a royal patron if at that point Harry, Meghan, William, Catherine are all at capacity? I don't think so. The obvious answer is Beatrice and Eugenie. HN the King says, when the Queen made her historic visit to Ireland, she made sure to take the time to visit the National Stud. Serious equine place. Woohoo. Thank you, Robin, who says, I wear my top hat well. Yes, History Hardy. Charles just gave Diana a tray of rings from the jeweller at the time to choose from. She joked that she chose the biggest. I would too. Sorry if I've missed your questions. I'm zooming back down to the bottom. Rosary says, can someone tell me what the name of Elliot's... yes, there are several groups. It's Royal Reviewer and Friends. That's the community page. Rose says, the York girls are involved with very wealthy men and do not need to be supported by the UK taxpayers. No, they don't, but they are in, I think, a bit of a curious position. They have titles, but no official working role. And it must be very difficult for them, I think. Maria loves seeing Prince Charles and Zara at Ascot. Zara is just the character to break through Charles's formal air. Oh, Zara is a delight to watch when she's out and about. She seems like so much fun to be around. Exactly, and her laughter seems to come from deep down. And Mike as well. Mike is fun. Those two are very well matched. Mike is full of giggles and laughter too. My Magical says, sadly, one of the criticisms of the York girls was that they spent far too much time on holiday than actually working. But again, they don't have an official royal role. I mean, if they had an official royal role and then they were going on, loads of holidays, that would be cause for criticism. But as private individuals, private citizens, outside of being a working royal, they are entitled to as many holidays as they want, quite frankly, and as many holidays as the companies that they work for will allow them to have. That is a private conversation, a private issue between the York princesses and their employers. If the employers allow them to have that much time off, fine. If they're paying for those holidays themselves, fine. There would be an issue if they were full-time working royals and doing that. Aurora Rose says, seeing Princess Anne waving to Her Majesty in the pouring rain at Ascot with a big cheesy smile just cracked me up. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? Okay, I am just going to zoom down to the bottom again. HN the King says, I wonder if Prince Louis is the future Duke of York. All depends on whether Andrew is still alive when Louis marries. It does. You are quite right. So yes, who knows? But let's not forget. I mean, if ever there was an occasion where there were no titles left, I think there are still some dukedoms held within the crown. But if there was an occasion where they needed extra ones, they would create them. They do have the ability to create new titles if needed. Claudia says, if fans of Meghan buys her a tiara, will she accept it? Oh, now I have thought about that before. I mean, there have been occasions in the past where, for example, the girls of Great Britain and Ireland clubbed together to buy a tiara, and that's why we see the girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara on the Queen's head now. So there are occasions where they have organisations and things have clubbed together and gifted the monarch jewellery and tiaras. So my answer to that is, I don't see a reason why she wouldn't be able to accept it. Now, I don't think she'd be able to accept it in terms of being a personal gift, but it could probably become part of the royal collection and used by her, I think, is more the answer, because of course I don't think you're allowed to accept gifts over so much value personally, but it is kind of kept on behalf of the nation, which I think then you can use if it's a gift to you. I think that's how it works. So I'd like to see it tried. I think it would be interesting. Yes, they did create the Earl of Wessex's title, obviously because it's been put out that the Earl of Wessex will eventually get the Dukedom of Edinburgh, and I think he just resonated quite a lot with Wessex. DD says, Princess Anne looks serious, but I love her feisty nature and sense of humour. No nonsense and no fuss. Hitting the King says, the Dukedom of Clarence. Yes, that is one that is still within the crown. See, I like that name. Carolyn says, when Philip passes, will Edward become the Duke of Edinburgh? Now, there was some debate on this a while ago. It's been... I think it's well known that that title is being reserved for Edward. That will be passed on. But I think it has to revert back up and then be passed down again. So it all depends, I think, I think it depends if Charles is king at the time. So let's just say the Duke of Edinburgh passes and Charles is king and there is no queen. Technically, as his heir, the title would go back to Charles. But then Charles, knowing that that was been reserved for Edward, would then have to gift it to Edward. And I think that's the workaround about how it would be. Because technically, being the eldest son, the Duke of Edinburgh's title is inherited by Charles. And if Charles was king at the time, it would go back up to the crown, and then obviously the crown could gift it back out to Edward. And I think that's probably likely how it may work. Aiton the King says, the national anthem plays, take off your hat. No way. I have no idea what's going on under here. It could be flat. And, oh, how are we doing for time? We're doing fine. It could be flat as a pancake. So no way. Flossenog Payne is put a link in who says, Princess Royal is a substantive title customary but not automatically awarded by a British monarch to his or her eldest daughter. Yes. So once William is king, Princess Anne would have to have passed before he could re-give that title to Princess Charlotte. Barbie says, with so many tiaras available for loan from the Queen, I would guess Meghan would rather have that kind of money donated to her charitable causes, not that diamonds aren't a girl's best friend. Well, I agree with that. And I also probably agree that I think she'd prefer the money to go to charitable causes. We have still yet to see what tiara Meghan has on long-term loan. It could be the wedding one. It could be a new one that we haven't seen for decades and decades, or it could be one that we have seen before. So we are going to have to wait and see for that one. Now, I need to check if I've covered everything that I wanted to cover. And I think my page flipped over a few times. So let's just go back and find it, because I did have quite a few notes written down today that I wanted to make sure I got through. So we have spoken about Royal Ascot, and of course I'm dressed up for Royal Ascot. We've mentioned baby Archie's Father's Day photo. Of course, it was Garter Day as well this week, so we got to see everyone in their finery, including the Queen and Prince William. Prince William looking slightly uncomfortable at times, but we also saw Catherine, and it's always a really good day and always very hot. And of course, they process down the hill from the main Windsor Castle down to St George's Chapel, and it's always really hot, even if it's raining at this time of year. In terms of wearing all the robes. But it was really, really fun to also see everyone just dressed up and having a good time, and also to see all the crowds that had come out to see them. Now, of course, it is a private ceremony and service, so the cameras were not allowed in, but we did get to see them walking down the hill. We saw the Queen driving in her car. We got to see the carriage processions on the way out. It was nice to see Queen Maxima and Queen Letizia. It was just lovely to see all of them together. So I thought that was a really, really nice day and a really, really great occasion. William and Catherine, their royal escort, their special escort group, Outrider on the motorcycle, knocked down an elderly lady, and she's in hospital. Now, I haven't heard any updates. I did say as soon as I heard an update, but I did go online today and I looked for any new articles, any updates, any health checks. I haven't seen one. If you have seen one, please let me know and I will obviously take a look. But I haven't seen one yet, so I don't know. I can't update you on how she's doing at the moment, but I will as soon as I know anything. We've spoken about the Royal Foundation. We've spoken about the head of the Commonwealth. Oh, Prince William turned 37. How could we forget? So it was Prince William's 37th birthday. There was a bit of a hoo-ha about what the Sussexes posted, which was, as I pointed out in my video, exactly in line with what the royal family posted. Yes, there was no emojis, but then William is not, a 3-year-old kid. He doesn't need emojis. It was a birthday wish, and they even used an exclamation mark as well, as if to say, "Happy birthday, the Duke of Cambridge." It was a happy message. It depends how you read it. You could read it as "Happy birthday, the Duke of Cambridge." Or you could say, we'll use the exclamation mark, "Happy birthday, the Duke of Cambridge." There you go. So there was no slight, I don't think, intended there. So happy birthday, Your Royal Highness. We've spoken about Princess Beatrice and Eugenie's future, their future roles and possible homes. And we've spoken about how the Queen modernizes the royal family. So I think we've covered a lot of ground today. And I hope you have all enjoyed the chat. It's nearly time to go. Why isn't Harry also a Garter Knight? It is within the Queen's gift. And it is obviously prominent members of the family, which I know includes Harry. Now, I do think Harry will get there eventually. But this year, the new appointments were just normal people that have done good work and good service. So I think the Queen was honouring people. I also have a theory that I think maybe they could be waiting for Charles to be king in terms of Harry. I think perhaps it may even be Charles's wish that one of the first Garter Knights that he appoints is Harry. That could actually be one of his wishes. We don't know that. I am just surmising on that one, but I have a feeling that perhaps they're waiting for Charles to make Harry a Garter Knight. So that is one of my theories on that. Matla says, I thought the birthday wish was fine for William. You're right, he doesn't need emoji. Who needs an emoji? My goodness. Sandy P says, I heard William and Kate push the UK press to cover what? A fuel fire negative? No. It's just the press being the press. They weren't fueled by anyone. They were fueled by themselves. They fanned their own flames. My goodness. They have a fan so far blowing up their own skirts. It's very breezy. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Plasmog Payne says there's limited numbers of Garter Knights. Have to wait for one to drop off his perch. Well, yes, there were some appointed this year, so some had. There were some vacant positions, but I do think I've got a feeling Charles wants to make Harry a Garter Knight. Auntie Dee's is laughing. There we go. Oh, Selk Seba says the tiara might be called the Sussex tiara. If she had a new one, I'm sure it could be. And that is the end of the chat. So we're going to leave it here for this week. Now, I do hope that you have enjoyed this chat. I will be premiering my weekly vlog which I still need to do a bit more filming for, actually. I'll be premiering my weekly vlog tomorrow on my other channel, Elliot's British Life. If you don't know about that channel, it's my other channel where I put other stuff, including my weekly vlogs now. So if you've been wondering why you've not been getting notifications for my weekly vlogs, I am still posting them, but it's on another channel. So you have to subscribe to that channel and hit the notification bell on there. So if you've missed any of my weekly vlogs, that's where they are. Head on over and catch up. And I will be premiering tomorrow, so I hope as many of you can make it as possible. So from me this week, I'm going to have to say goodbye. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and also hit that notification bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. So from me in Shropshire, mwah to you all, and goodbye.